The one that I get to work with on a daily basis that I thought of was Debbie James, the CMS Deputy CEO. So why does she inspire me? Well, firstly, she exhibits the fruits of the Spirit in the way she works. I get to see every day qualities such as patience and goodness, faithfulness and self-control. Secondly, Debbie's commitment to mission is inspiring, demonstrated in her work at CMS, her passion for Partnership for Missional Church, but also through her support for her local church through what's been a really tough year.
When I was a young Christian, a woman who particularly inspired me in mission is someone who I've only met and spoken to once in my life, but it was her story that was so inspiring. And this woman is called Jackie Pullinger, and her story is found in a book called Chasing the Dragon. And what's so inspiring, I think, for me is Jackie's courage. She was only about 22 years old when she set out. She felt called to go on a ship. She didn't know the location that God wanted her to be, but she was listening and discerning. And when she got to Hong Kong, she knew that that was where God wanted her to be. That sense of courageous spirit, stepping out and trusting in God. And also what's so inspiring for me is that sense of the prophetic, of the radical spirit that she had. When she was walking down the walled city, her heart wasn't to invite people into cozy meetings. It was to think, well, what would Jesus be doing? He would be stopping, he would be talking to people, meeting them where they're at. And she modeled her ministry on that approach.
The woman who really inspired me while working with CMS is Usha Hari. She and her husband came to the UK in 1993 to serve as mission partners, CMS mission partners in Wembley, where there's a lot of Hindu and Muslim community. Sadly, a few years after they arrived, her husband died, leaving her with her 2 children, which I'm sure was very difficult. But that did not stop her from doing mission. She actually just persevered and she kept going. The reason she reached so many is because she's just very humble, very simple in her approach. She just share love, visit people, go to their homes, and tell them about how Jesus loved them.
One woman in mission who particularly inspires me is Rachel Karanja, who lives and works in Kenya. She works with CMS Africa, and she's been a local partner with Church Mission Society for several years now. I find her work so inspiring because I think, to me, she just does a perfect job of connecting the dots between business, entrepreneurship, innovation, creation, care, and also spirituality, sharing faith. I first got to know Rachel when she was working on a project with anaerobic biodigesters. So basically, one of the things that CMS Africa believes in is this idea that God has given us plenty of resources to do the kingdom work that He's called us to. And one readily available resource where Rachel was in Kenya is actually cow dung. So she worked and helped loads of people get biodigesters that would turn cow dung into usable fuel. And the effects of this were just so far-reaching. I mean, it's much better for the environment because trees weren't being torn down. It was actually much better for relationships in the community because people weren't fighting over this increasingly scarce firewood. And it was also just a chance for the church to really speak into a situation. And I think she's just personally very inspiring because she's lived through things like she's had a major stroke a few years ago. She's miraculously survived a plane crash. She just does everything so wholeheartedly and with such imagination, and just has such a holistic view about how mission is about both sharing your faith and making disciples and increasing people's spiritual worldview, and yet also the practical things that are involved in community transformation. So to me, she's just rather incredible.
I hope that they too will be courageous in the way that Jackie was, and that they will feel empowered, that they will have that ability to think out the box, to see possibilities, to push against anything that might restrict or limit what they can do. I love, in my own 2 daughters who are only 10 and 12 years old, their awareness of injustice and their passion for justice, their sense of God's heart for the whole of creation, and wanting to live their life orientated in that way.
I mean, there's a phrase that's kind of going around a lot right now about good trouble. So I hope women in the future will get involved in some good trouble, and that they'll help change systems, change the game, as it were. I think speaking into the situations where systems of injustice need to change, and I hope that there's a sort of global sisterhood of women who are doing this in the name of Jesus.